The Army Black Knights are the first military academy-based team that we are looking at here for the 2023 college football season. And Army could see a revolutionizing of their offense this year with a new offensive coordinator coming in. However, Todd Monken and this group still know how to win football games. Could we see improvement for this Army team in 2023? Or is this going to be an Army team that maybe starts to fall a little bit among the ranks of college football? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nathan. Welcome to my channel. I'm predicting each and every one of the 133 FBS level college football teams this summer, and that means, well, I'm doing your favorite team. So hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when your favorite team gets uploaded. But there are more ways than that you can help me support my channel. You guys are doing one right now by watching the video, and you guys can gladly do more, whatever you're willing and able to do, by liking, commenting, sharing, and anything else you can think of to help support my channel. The growth and support on the channel has been great this season, has been amazing. So I thank you all so much for all of that. But let's talk about our first military academy team, and that is the Army Black Knights. Hey, how do we do things here in 2023? Well, we go through a roster overview, look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class. Not that there will be a lot for Army, just put that spoiler out there. And then we'll take a look at the Black Knights football schedule, and we'll give it a game-by-game preview and prediction. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and talk about Black Knights football here in 2023. If my slide would change, there it goes. Quarterback position, who's going to be manning the helm for the Black Knights this season? Well, it will not be either of Cade Ballard, Jamel Jones, or the guy that started at the helm last year in Tyler Tyler. Tyler was the team's second leading passer last year, although Army only threw 104 passes last year, 920 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4 picks. Did have 8.8 yards per completion, but and Ballard and Jones were two quarterbacks that threw a lot more than Tyler, but Tyler was this team's leading rusher last season, 663 yards and 12 touchdowns on the season. You're going to miss that production greatly here with the Army Black Knights. That is a team that does rely on the run a lot. Tyler was a big part of that. So who will be manning the helm for the Black Knights this season? Well, one of either Alex Meredith, Zach Wendell, or the guy that I believe will get the job, and that's Bryson Daly. Did throw 1 pass last year, but has the most rushing experience out of any one of those guys there, especially from last season. 12 carries for 163 yards and 2 touchdowns last season for Daly. I think he'll be that starting quarterback in 2023 for the Black Knights. Running back room. What are we looking at here? Well, Brahim Murphy is one of their losses. In fact, their only loss that I could find from last season, as Murphy rushed for 226 yards and 2 touchdowns last year. But there is a plethora of returning options here. This includes fullbacks, running backs, halfbacks, and anything else and any other terminology that Army may use. Tyson Riley, Jacoby Buchanan, I believe both of those play the fullback position. Both of them are coming back. Tyrell Robinson, Ajuan Marshall, who can, switch out and play wide receiver if need be. Markel Johnson and Hayden Reed all return in the backfield for the Army Black Knights. Going to be a pretty solid rushing attack as it usually is. In fact, I think going to be a really good rushing attack for this Army team. You got a lot of returning talent back this season. And then in the wide receiver position, well, Cole Catterbone is gone, only had 1 catch last year. But your top 2 guys in the wide receiver room from last season to come back. Isaiah Alston is back, had 296 yards on 16 catches, did have 1 touchdown. Again, Marshall had 6 catches for 208 yards and 2 touchdowns. But then you also get Vashi Danian and some other names that are going to be wide receivers for this Army football team this year. And then in the tight end room, Joshua Ligenfelter and David Crossan will be returning at the tight end position. On the offensive line, well, couldn't find a whole lot on Army's offensive line. I do apologize, Black Knight fans, but Connor Bishop is gone. And then Jordan Law and then Connor Finucane will be returning to this offensive line for Army. So there's the offense for Army. Again, play a little bit of a triple style, or triple option style, I should say, or whatever you'd like to call it. But could see a revolutionizing of that offense. Drew Thatcher is coming over from the University of Nebraska Kearney. That is a Division II level program. And hey, who knows what changes we may see to the Black Knights offense this season. But let's talk about the defense for this team now. What is this team losing defensively is one of the big questions for Army. Well, on the defensive line. Your best defensive lineman is going to be leaving from last season. That was Kwabena Bonsu. Had 3 sacks, which was tied for first on the team with numerous other players. In fact, 2 other players. Was the team's 5th leading tackler, had 44 of them. That's a big loss on the defensive line for Army. However, right behind him in tackles was Austin Hill. He'll be coming back, should be leading that defensive line, along with Chris Frey, Nathaniel Smith, and Darius Richardson as well. All some very good players that'll be returning on the defensive line for Army this season. In the linebacking unit, you lose a hell of a player in Andre Carter. 37 tackles and 3 sacks last year. A bit of an underwhelming season given what he did in 2021. Nonetheless, a phenomenal talent. That's a huge loss in the linebacker room for Army. And you also lose Peyton Hampton as well, who had 27 tackles, a couple passes defended in there for the Black Knights defense. However, your leading tackler with triple digits, exactly 100 tackles last season, Leo Lowen, and did have 3 sacks last season. One of the 3 guys with 3 sacks on this team. Jimmy Ciarlo, Calson Crummy, and Camden O'Gara are going to be some other returners in this linebacking unit as well. Crummy and O'Gara each had a sack for the team last season. Ciarlo was the team's 3rd leading tackler. So there's still good talent in the linebacking room for Army. And then in the defensive back room, well, Markel Broughton is going to be gone. 84 tackles, 3 interceptions. 84 was second on the team. The 3 interceptions led the team, as well as his 5 passes defended. You're going to be missing that production out of the defensive back room. However, pretty much everyone else is back. Quindrellin Hammonds, Max Ditto Menico, apologies if I said last name wrong, Jabari Moore, Cameron Jones, Donovan Platt, Bo Nicholas Paul, and many others in the secondary return for this Black Knights defense. This is a very ferocious defense. I think it's going to be another good defensive unit. And the offense, who knows what changes it brings, but I believe will still be pretty good in 2023. Your head coach is Jeff Monk, and your offensive coordinator is Drew Thatcher, and your defensive coordinator is Nate Woody, as we take a look at the Black Knights football schedule for 2023. Hey, if you guys don't know how this works by now, let me inform you. Any game at home is going to be underlined, and any game on the road will be in italics or the slant to text. Any game you see in green is a game. Well, I think Army's going to win pretty easily. Any game in yellow is a game where, okay, hey, the other team is going to put up quite a fight. Maybe it's a back and forth game, but Army's going to be able to win, and red is a loss. You start out the season on the road week 1 against the University of Louisiana Monroe Warhawks, and that is a team in the Sun Belt Conference that definitely has a lot higher expectations than what it has had in years past. That's a team that has been on the up and up in the Sun Belt Conference this year. I guess I should say over the past couple of years. This year should be interesting to watch for the Warhawks, but I do not believe they're going to be up to the standard of Army football. I think especially with this Army defense, they're going to be able to take over. They're going to be able to slow down this University of Louisiana Monroe, or I should say ULM offensive attack. And Army, I think we'll get their week 1 opening win, and I believe they'll start out 2-0 with a win against Delaware State, a program from the ranks of the FCS. Now, when you do look at the next 2 games here, I mean, Army's got a lot of tricky games on this football schedule, and they start early. Week 3, you got to go on the road and play UTSA, and I believe this is a loss. Even though Zachary Franklin is gone, hey, that quarterback comes back. Frank Harris is back for yet another season. That's right, Roadrunner fans. He is coming back, and even though, again, Zachary Franklin is gone, there's a lot of talent in that wide receiver room. I believe they're going to be a pretty solid team defensively as well, but UTSA joining the American Conference this year, I believe they're going to be one of the favorites there as well, and I just don't think Army matches up well with them. I think UTSA offensively is going to score a ton of points in this game, and UTSA should be able to win. Then you got to go on the road and play Syracuse here. Syracuse is a team that returns Garrett Schrader at quarterback, and his best wide receiver in Oronde Gadsden is coming back as well. Makes for a great quarterback-wide receiver duo from the ranks of the ACC. Defensively, there are some solid contributors gone, but I really like a lot of the pieces that are on that Syracuse defense. And again, the Dome, not kind to a lot of people. So I think Syracuse is going to be able to pull off this win against the Army Black Knights. But maybe a good time for a bye week right here then, and they get it. Week 5 is their bye week. You come off a 2-game slide, and you get a home game against another ACC opponent. This time, it's the Boston College Eagles. Now, this game is not, again, as I said earlier, in Chestnut Hill. This is an Army home game, and I think Army's going to be able to pull off this win. Don't get me wrong. The Boston College Eagles this year could be a team to watch out for in the ACC. Phil Dracovic is gone, but Emmett Morehead showed some good things at quarterback last season. I think I think he's got a lot of great talent and skill to be able to put to use. And with this Boston College Eagles team as well, even though Zay Flowers, some other pieces are gone, yes, that rushing attack has to improve, which is where I think the Army Black Knights are going to be able to get him. If that rushing attack does not improve, I think this Black Knights defense is going to be able to take over, do pretty much whatever they want. Oh, and I think the offense is going to be able to do pretty well as well. There are a lot of questions on this Eagle defense. So give me the Black Knights to beat the Eagles there in week 6 to improve to 3-2. But I believe they're quickly going to drop to 300. You get to stay at home and play Troy, but Troy's going to be a really tough opponent for anybody this season. I believe Kansas State plays them out of the ranks of the Big 12, so they got to watch out. Troy's a team that offensively can put up points in a hurry. We saw that last year in the Sun Belt Championship game. I think that's much going to be the case this year. I think that Troy offense is going to be really, really good, and that's a very aggressive defense. It has been in years past. I expect it to continue to be that way here in 2023. And I believe Troy's going to end up handing the Black Knights their 3rd loss of the season. So after the first half of the season is done, well, your second half doesn't start off much easier, does it? You got to go on the road and play LSU, and this is, I think, going to be an easy win for the LSU Tigers. Not saying the Army that definitely does not have the skill and talent to maybe give LSU some problems for maybe a couple plays, maybe a couple drives, but LSU is loaded with talent. You got Jaden Daniels coming back at quarterback. His skill position group is one of the best in the entire nation. They got great players at every level of the offense, and defensively, you got one of the best defensive, if not one of the best players in the nation, period, in Harold Perkins. That's a very, very good team. That's a team that has national championship hopes, and the LSU Tigers will be able to beat the Army Black Knights, but Army going to be able to get a win here against the UMass Minutemen. Now, do not count the Minutemen out this season. I believe Army definitely is the much more talented team, as are maybe everyone that is on that UMass schedule except for 1 or 2 teams. But there are a lot of 3 to 4 star transfers, some former 4 stars out of high school transferring into that UMass team, giving them some pretty good talent. So don't be surprised if UMass wins a couple games this year, but definitely not up to the standard of the Army Black Knights. And I believe Air Force in this neutral site game in Denver will beat Army as well. Air Force is a team that still utilizes some facet of the triple option offense. However, they are a lot more modernized of the triple option offense. They like to throw in the pass game, and it can be pretty good. It has been the past couple of seasons. Again, expect it to be that way this year. Oh, and that Air Force defense, still really good. That's one of that's a really good team coming out of the Mountain West Conference. The first other Armed Forces Academy that Army is going to have to play this year, and I believe they suffer a loss to them. So I believe Air Force going to be able to win that game as Army. Now, really needing some wins here, but they're going to get one against Holy Cross. That's another team from the FCS ranks that I think Army is going to be able to win. And sets up an interesting matchup here, doesn't it? Coastal Carolina comes to town, and guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Grayson McCall is still there. He is still the quarterback for this Coastal Carolina team. Did not transfer, did not go to the NFL. Nope, Conway still has their man at quarterback, but they don't have their man at head coach. Jamie Chadwell has gone off to coach the Liberty Flames. And in comes Tim Beck. He's a former offensive coordinator, of course, of the Ohio State Buckeyes, and has held many other positions, but comes into Conway to be that head coach. And look, I think Coastal Carolina loses a lot of talent from its past couple of seasons. I still think that's going to be a pretty solid team in Conway, maybe not up to the standard as it has been in years past, and in a very close back and forth 50-50 style game. I'm going to go with the home team here. I'm going to go with Army. I think that defense will step up, will make some plays, and they will be able to win. And then you get a bunch of time off before the game in Foxborough. I believe Gillette Stadium is going to be the host of the annual Army-Navy game this season, and I believe Army will be coming out on top this year. Now, don't get me wrong. Navy is an improved team coming out of the ranks of the American Conference. That's a team that's going to be a lot better than it has been in years past, but I believe Army will be a little bit too physical. They'll get a little bit more done, and Army wins the annual Army-Navy game this season. They win America's game, as they call it. So I got the Black Knights going 7-5 this year. This is a pretty tough schedule. There are a lot of very tough games, but I think Army's got a lot of good pieces offensively, defensively, and we'll see what this maybe modernized Army offense may look like in 2023. But that's going to do it for my thoughts on the Black Knights. Let me know yours in the comment section below. And as always, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.